What's up, builders? It's me, Jimbotron, back at you with another top 5 list. Today we're covering the top 5 support builds in Overwatch Stadium. Let's get into it. We are starting this one off with an honorable mention that it hurts my heart to not put in the top 5. This is Falcon Ana. My personal build of choice when I'm running support because of how unique it is. The build actually doesn't focus on stats like healing or damage, but instead about giving your team ultimate charge. Sounds silly, right? But no, we do this by taking the powers Falconer, Nanonade, and Fountain of Soothe. When you put these together, you have 2 grenades granting ultimate charge to any teammates that they hit, and an ultimate that giga-buffs anybody that receives it. Then you take it a step further by pairing it with major levels of cooldown reduction from Cluster Core and Refresher, and before you know it, you're capable of giving your entire team their ultimate abilities in the first fight. The reason this build isn't making the top 5 list though, is because realistically, you need your whole team to coordinate positioning to get the value out of it. You have no idea how many games I had to queue with randoms to get it to work the way it is in the footage. I do have a full build guide of this one up on my channel, so feel free to check that out. But it's just not self-sufficient enough for me to call this a top 5 build. Starting the list off at number 5, we have the Pocket Princess build. I felt this was controversial to put here, since I did literally just say the Ana build isn't going into the top 5 because it isn't self-sufficient, but this build is considerably more consistent than that of Falcon Ana. In short, the build is all about buffing up a target hero to make them so much stronger than anyone they attempt to fight for some easy wins. We do this by taking powers like Distortion to give our pocketed hero 20% extra lifesteal for bonus sustain, even when damage boosted. Protective Beam makes them significantly stronger at the start of fights, since as long as you keep them over 80% HP, then you'll mitigate 10% of the damage that they take. Triage Unit is there to crazy buff the healing that you are able to give them. And finally, either Supply Surge to give them bonus cooldown reduction if they are on a build that uses cooldowns, or Wambulance if you just want more healing. Because you have so many more buffs to offer than just your regular healing and damage boost, you can mainly focus on building into being unkillable with survivability and movement. But don't be fooled though, although more consistent than the Ana build, you probably will want to be running this build with a duo so that you know they will perform if you make your entire build into them. At least if you want someone to appreciate that you've done it anyway, as a lot of these stats are hard to see on the scoreboard. Trust me, when you do this build right, it's impossible to kill you or the person you're pocketing. So for that reason, it's going at number 5. Coming in at number 4 is a demon in the right hands. We have Weapon Power Wuyang. Luckily for the Stadium community, this guy has a decently high skill floor you have to get past if you want to play him at a carry level in-game because of how unique his projectiles are. However, if you run into somebody who can play this guy, and I mean like you can't hide anywhere or he will hit you level of good, the air or behind walls, it doesn't matter, it is all of his line of sight, then this is easily a top 5 build in the game, never mind support. It all revolves around this power, Pain Drops. A criminally worded power that leads you on to think, oh, 120% damage, that's nice. Wrong. The outside 2 orbs do 40% of the damage, but the middle one still does the full number. It's not a 120% damage boost, it's a 180% damage boost. Meaning round 1, you can literally do 189 damage with a single shot. Combine that with a bunch of weapon power, and even tanks are super vulnerable to you. Then we combine it with a bunch of self-healing from the Shore Up power, which also scales up with your weapon power and your active stream. If you didn't know already, Wuyang's active healing stream, this is when he's healing you manually, scales up with your weapon power, and his passive stream, when he's not healing you manually, is actually ability power. So Shore Up will also scale with any weapon power or active stream items, like Aquajet Amplifier or Hydrocache. And then buff it with passive self-healing from the Streamline power to make up for the fact that most of our kit is in damage and not survival. Even though this is AP healing, you still notice the difference whether it's scaled up or not. Now all of a sudden, you are a hard-to-kill menace who kills any squishy in 2 hits. If you are struggling to get over the learning curve though, there is always Oscillation Orb, which basically lets you do full turns with the orbs and makes them so much easier to hit. But once you're acquainted with this build, then you will know why this makes it to the number 4 spot. At number 3, we have Karma Zen. And I just want to throw out a huge disclaimer. These top 3 supports are genuinely all in a league of their own, and interchangeable with one another, depending on the scenario. So don't get offended if I put your main at number 3 and not 1, because genuinely every one of these builds is capable of hard carrying even in top 500. Karma Zen is all about taking an absurd amount of self-heals that scale with your weapon damage. We do this by taking Inner Peace, which gives you a mini self-heal. Although it might not seem like much, if you do the maths, this is basically a free Martian Mender that gives cash on round 1, as Martian Mender can do up to 9 healing per second, and this actually does 10. But that's not why we are taking it, because then we pair that with Enlightenment. This power is crazy, as whoever has your healing orb on them now gets healed by 35% of your damage. But this also includes yourself, so you can kind of look at this power like a 35% lifesteal to you and whoever has the orb on them. It makes you incredibly hard to dive, because your shots also hit like tanks, so hitting a single headshot can heal a large chunk of your health. The nail in the coffin though is instant karma. This lets you heal half of the damage that you take from a discorded target back over the next 2 seconds. It's kind of like a nebula conduit on steroids, since now, rather than stopping 15% of the damage from being instant, you do take the instant damage, but then heal half of it back. And this literally makes you impossible to dive when combined with the self-healing you had in the first place. I like to take 2 survival items with this build, being Nebula Conduit for the instant karma synergy and Rustungs for the max life. But after that, you can genuinely go raw weapon power and still have the highest healing and damage numbers in the lobby. This is the best support build in the game for farming stats by a mile. And coming in at number 2, we have Tuzu Kiriko. Kiriko is so infamous for being overpowered in this game, between the absurd critical damage and mobility, but the main reason she has always been seen as broken is accredited to the Protection Suzu ability. This ability will cleanse anybody of their negative effects and make them invulnerable to damage for the next half a second or so. So in short, this is a free how about no ability to anyone on your team about to die. And what did Stadium say? Oh, that's right. Let's give her 2 of those things. Genuinely, if the enemy Kiriko is on this and you rely on damage over time, maybe your Junker Queen or Ashe or any of the characters that use ability debuffs like Cyber Venom or Liquid Nitrogen, just wrap it up already. You lost. Not only can you give 2 invulnerability uses, but then you can pair it with Cleansing Charge so that now you can get up to 25% ultimate charge on every Suzu usage. Not only can she shut down any damage over time character, but now you're actually directly spoon-feeding her ultimate charge by playing your character. Oh, but 2 wasn't enough for you? Yeah, okay, don't worry. If you want to bully your opponent, you can also take items like Biotech Maximizer for 5% cooldown reduction on every target you hit with the Suzu. And then even Kitsune Charm or Refresher to gain bonus uses of cleansing effects. And if you really want to make your opponents feel useless, you can take the Crossing Guard power, so now any enemies caught inside of your ultimate won't be able to move and are effectively free kills, as if they were in a May blizzard. Then we take items like Our Bikes, so that our ultimate now heals as well as getting it quicker, and combine it with other strong uniques like Talisman of Life and Donut Delivery, so you do a ton of bonus sustain for just using your abilities, and there is no greater build in the game with potential to shut someone down. Combining all of this with Kiriko's innate critical damage, then you just win games for free if you manage your cooldowns well enough, easily earning this build the number 2 spot on the list. And finally, coming in at number 1, we have Rally Spam Brig. On release, this hero was the best character in Stadium, and even though this build specifically has received a few nerfs, the core principle still stands, and it's terrifying to play into. The main principle of this build is taking Scavenged Steel, which will give us 2% ultimate charge on every instance of ability damage. Then we pair it with the Scold casting power, which allows us to throw out our shield, and suddenly we can do up to 3 instances of ability damage on a single target with a single shield bash. I personally love to try and see how many people I can hit with a shield throw, because theoretically you can hit a single shield bash 15 times with this setup if everyone stands nicely for you, which is a free 30% ultimate charge. But we take it a step further by buffing up our ultimate with Dragon's Incinerator, which does a bit of damage to our opponents but also heals back all of that damage to us. So when combined with the passive Inspire healing, we don't die during ultimates. This build not only can ult every fight, but can also serve as a second tank where the team needs it. I don't think any other support can hold their own against a tank at melee range like this one can, maybe with the exception of Zenyatta. But we have even more synergy coming up with aura farming. Since every instance of ability damage triggers the Inspire passive, you're constantly feeding yourself and anyone around you a bunch of overhealth every time you do ability damage. So now ability damage grants you passive Inspire healing procs, ultimate charge, and your whole team overhealth. Combining this all together with survival items and you genuinely become unkillable. Did I mention that if you build ability power, you can also one-shot combo squishies? I personally chose to put this at number 1 over the Zen and Kiriko builds, as although it offers the least damage and utility, it is the easiest one to get value out of. And to my audience who primarily solo and duo queue, you will definitely be able to rank up the easiest on this one. But that's why Brig is coming in at the number 1 spot. That's all we have for today, builders. If you're interested in knowing more, or maybe you want to go round by round with me, then as always, round by round build guides are in the description. Till next time, builders.